This is TWiT.
More Hollywood stories. We got the YouTube results, quarterly results from Google. YouTube ad spending up big time, which is a surprise. It looks like YouTube is really getting in gear. I can't remember what the increase was, a 4.2% increase year over year. But what's really interesting, it seems to be coming at the expense of the TV advertising market. $70 billion a year at stake in TV advertising. YouTube's increase, overall revenue increase, 4% year over year. By the way, that's the first after 3 straight quarters of decline. Seems to come almost exactly at the cost of TV advertising. As of early May, YouTube, this is from the Information Story, Hollywood's pain is YouTube's advertising gain. Great headline. Thank you to Sahil Patel for this article. YouTube has already booked $7 billion in upfront ad spending deals. More advertisers have warmed up to the content on YouTube thanks to creators like Mr. Beast. And while YouTube creators may not have the budgets of expensive TV shows, Sahil writes, they draw younger viewers that traditional TV cannot. And that's really the key. Are we starting to see a shift, Janko, from traditional television advertising to YouTube?
I think we're seeing a shift in general from traditional TV advertising
to digital,
to streaming,
yeah,
to digital, to streaming, to all the streaming platforms. YouTube is one of the biggest benefactors. I think Nielsen also just put numbers out for, I guess those were June numbers actually, but YouTube and Netflix are both the 2 biggest streaming services, and then others are starting to catch up. Tubi is like 1.4% of all TV viewing now, Roku channel, all these channels, all these digital properties are moving up. And it makes a lot of sense because people are cutting the cord. It's not stopping. Comcast just lost another 500,000 of subscribers to its TV products, and across the board that continues, and it continues to get worse. And there is really not that much reason anymore to watch network television or cable television anymore, because the best stuff is on streaming. A lot of stuff, if you weren't looking for the HBOs or the premium channels, if you just wanted to tune into something, just veg out in front of the TV, there's great free alternatives for that right now on streaming.
Freevee and Pluto TV and
exactly,
Tubi.
all those guys.
Yeah.
So obviously the advertisers are going where the eyeballs are, and YouTube is one of the big benefactors, but I think beneficiaries of that. But I think all the other ones are benefiting from it as well.
Netflix just added an ad-supported tier. When you said Netflix, at first I thought, wait a minute, Netflix doesn't have ads. Oh, yes, it does. The cheapest $7 plan has ads, and apparently it's going quite well.
I think they would say they're still very early and that they're still like starting to build it out and figuring out how much to charge and who to work with. I think initially they were just saying, Microsoft of all cases is going to sell all our ads. And now they're like, well, maybe we want to have some other people there too who can do that maybe even better than Microsoft. That's my interpretation. But I think, Netflix is in the ad business now. Hulu has the majority of people on Hulu get it with advertising. They're making more money with the ad-supported tier than with the tier without advertising.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Oh.
And I think Netflix is sort of gearing for the same thing. So that's why they're discontinuing their cheapest free plan, or their cheapest ad-free plan now, because they're basically like, we can be even cheaper if we have ads, but we're going to make a lot more money with that.
One thing
everybody's going in that direction.
One thing that's helping, when I've in the past watched Hulu with ads, it's the same ad. I was getting so sick of Captain Obvious from what was it, Travelocity or something. Same ad over and over again, and that was a real turnoff. But I've noticed lately, I've been watching Pluto TV. They have more advertisers. They have more variety. It's a lot more like watching network television than it used to be.
They're getting all smarter. They're doing the frequency capping, so you don't see the same ad over and over and over again. I think for a while it was also not just the question of the technology, but also the inventory, right? There wasn't enough advertisers, and there was a huge demand. Streaming was growing leaps and bounds, and then you just have to show the same ad over and over again.
We're moving to a cord cutting world. I mean, that's pretty clear. If I were the cable companies, if I were Comcast and Cox and Spectrum, I'd be a little nervous. They're all moving to be internet service providers as opposed to content over the top TV providers. Is it inevitable that everything's going to be on the internet and that we'll no longer have an antenna or a cable?
People still use an antenna, surprisingly, and it's a whole nother story. But basically, the future of broadcast TV, they're still trying to push the new
ATSC 3.0.
ATSC 3.0, exactly.
Yeah.
All of that.
That's ridiculous.
It still sort of exists.
Yeah.
But I think primarily everything is streaming, and that most people are comfortable with it now. Most people either own a smart TV or a streaming device, or in many cases both, right? So it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to pay those $100 or more for your cable TV bundle.
Do you, Georgia? You're in Canada, so I guess it's a little different. But do you watch broadcast television, or is it all streaming? I would guess, yeah, you cord
No,
cut.
it's mostly streaming.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard when you have so many options out there. And I think that's another issue, is that now there's so many options that people are like cutting down on having every single service. But then there's YouTube and other ways that you can get content for free. So when you're competing against free, it does change the entire way, and it's easy. It's easy to consume. And in the end, when you're tired and you want to veg out, which is what people often do at, like, usually consuming media is that time when you want to veg out, or you're driving your car, you're doing something else and you want to do that with it. The easiest thing is often going to work out. And so the more hoops that you have to kind of jump through, the less chance that barrier to entry is going to be so difficult that there's less chance that people are going to go through with it. And so every time they make another, little inconvenience for us, there's a greater chance that people are going to be like, you know what? I don't want to, unless it's that hit show that you really want, and no matter what, and then you'll jump through every single hoop that you need to get it.
I just figured out how long the ad breaks are in Jeopardy, and I know exactly how far to skip. The first one's 4 minutes. You don't believe me, but I know. The first one's 4 minutes. The second one, the second one is 2.5 minutes, and the third one is 3 minutes 45 seconds. So you just skip that amount, and you can. I should say, the second break I include the interviews with the contestants because I don't care about them. I just want to skip my time. I should explain.
Well, there used to be systems that would do that automatically for you, but
remember Replay, and they got put out of business pretty much, right?
Yeah,
with ad skipping. Good, because ads are good. Everybody should listen to all of our ads. No skipping. No, I'm always conflicted because as an ad-supported network, I don't want to, bash ads, but let's face it, nobody really likes ads. But I would also emphasize that if you're not willing to pay for something, you better be willing to watch ads, because there's only two choices. I guess the third choice is charity on my part, but we got lights, we got people to pay, we got things to, it's expensive. I'm sure you feel the same way, Mike. I know, you say you're not making any money, but you have to pay the bills. You can't.
Yes.
You have to have advertising, right? There is a Tech Dirt Premium.
There is. We have a variety of different ways that people can support us. So there is
a Patreon, right?
We have Patreon. We have what we call the Tech Dirt Insider setup, which is a premium version. But right now we really don't have ads on the site. And I think we discussed this in the past where we had gone through problems with ad providers.
I remember. Yes. The Google problem. Yeah.
Yes. And so we finally ditched it just because it was becoming too much of a pain for what we were getting out of it. We're not opposed to doing ads, but generally my take on that is that there needs to be a balance in terms of, most publications that I go to today that are ad supported are just, they're impossible to read. I mean, you have like something that comes down off the top, something that pops up across the bottom, and then every 2 paragraphs there's a giant ad, and that they're just ridiculous,
especially on mobile. There are sites
Yes.
that I cannot read on mobile because
Yes.
of the way the ads will rearrange themselves. So you can't scroll by them.
So I mean, we would never do that even if we did have ads. Right now we don't. But the other thing is I wish that we were talking about better ways to do ads, because I do think that there are ways to do advertisements that are less annoying, less problematic, less based on just trying to suck up all of your data and try and target you the best, but that actually some people enjoy seeing. Like, there are ads that are actually good and enjoyable as content in their own right. And I've written about this for years as well. Like, I wish that the ad market was moving more towards that world in which, they are advertisements and they're clearly labeled as advertisements, but they're not annoying and they're actually good enough that people don't mind seeing them. But the advertising market has not necessarily moved in that realm. Whenever people approach us about advertising deals, we try to talk to them about like, hey, can we talk about doing some sort of creative sponsorship that is something that people would actually enjoy? And so far, we haven't really been able to convince many people to do that, but it is what we would like to do.
I think that's where we're going to end up. I mean, I think advertisers are starting to learn that playing all these games and snarfing up all this data is not actually a long-term tenable point of view. In fact, I think we have a story along those lines here. I can't remember where I stuck it. But basically, ad targeting is just not a long-term good solution to this stuff, and people are really getting fed up with it.
You want to hear about the latest news happening in the tech world from the people who write the articles, sometimes from the people who are actually making the news? Well, we got a show for you here at TWiT.tv. It's called Tech News Weekly. Me, Jason Howell, and my co-host Micah Sargent, we talk with some amazing people each and every Thursday on Tech News Weekly, and we share a little bit of our own insights in each of us bringing a story of the week. That's at TWiT.tv/TNW. Subscribe right now.